Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, let me tell you something that is absolutely undeniable. Every woman may have her preferences, her types, her tastes, her lists, but there is one type of man that stands out above all the rest. And it doesn't matter if she's young or seasoned, educated or uneducated, wealthy or struggling. At the end of the day, there is one type of man that every woman respects. And here's the secret. It's not about the car he drives, the clothes he wears, or the number in his bank account. It's about who he is at the core. Because a real man, a man of substance, integrity, and vision will always demand respect, not by force, not by manipulation, but by simply being authentic and whole. You know, one of the greatest challenges we face in this generation of men is not a lack of money, not a lack of opportunity, not even a lack of education. The greatest challenge we face is a lack of identity, men who don't know who they are, men who have been shaped more by what society says, by what women expect, by what culture promotes, than by the truth of who God created them to be. And when a man does not know who he is, he becomes unstable. He becomes insecure. He becomes easily manipulated, easily broken, easily distracted. But when a man knows his identity, when he knows who he is in God, when he knows his worth, when he knows the purpose stamped on his soul, that man becomes unshakable. Women, let me tell you something. They can smell insecurity. They can sense confusion. A woman doesn't have to be trained. She doesn't have to go to school for psychology. She can look into a man's eyes. She can listen to the way he talks. She can watch the way he carries himself. And she knows if that man is lost or if that man is secure. And every woman, whether she admits it out loud or not, respects a man who knows who he is. Because identity is power. You see, when you don't know who you are, you try to borrow identity from everything around you. That's why some brothers think identity is in their car. They think identity is in the labels on their clothes. They think identity is in how much money they can quaz or how many women they can entertain. But the truth is, all of that is counterfeit. Because if you take the car away, if you strip the labels away, if you remove the crowd, what's left? And that's the question every man has to face. Who are you when no one's watching? Who are you when the applause stops? Who are you when the title is gone? That's identity. And when a woman sees a man who knows who he is, she doesn't see arrogance, she sees confidence. She doesn't see pride, she sees stability. She doesn't see stubbornness, she sees conviction. And let me tell you something. Conviction is attractive. Conviction is magnetic. Conviction is the foundation upon which respect is built. Now, brothers, here's where so many of us miss it. We allow society to define us. We let broken fathers, absent mothers, hurtful relationships, even jealous friends define who we are. And so we grow up living under labels that were never meant for us. Somebody called you dumb when you were a child and you carried that into adulthood. Somebody told you you're just like your no good daddy and you believed it. Somebody told you you'll never be successful and now you sabotage every opportunity because deep down you don't believe you deserve it. But when you know your identity, you break those chains. You rise above those voices. You stop living in reaction to people's opinions and you start living in alignment with God's intention. That's what a woman respects. A man who isn't swayed by every opinion. A man who doesn't need her to build his confidence, but who comes to her already whole. Because let me tell you something, ladies, when you have to constantly remind a man of his worth, constantly reassure him of his strength, constantly rebuild his broken ego, That's not love. That's parenting. And no woman was created to be a man's mother. Every woman respects a man who can stand in his own identity without requiring her to constantly hold him up. Think about the life of Jesus. He walked into every room fully aware of who he was. He didn't need the Pharisees to validate him. He didn't need the crowd to celebrate him. He didn't need the disciples to understand him. He knew who he was. I am the way, the truth, and the life. That's identity. And because he knew his identity, he could endure rejection. He could endure betrayal. He could endure crucifixion and still stand. That's the kind of strength that comes from identity. Now, brothers, when you don't know who you are, you will waste your life trying to prove yourself to people who don't even matter. You'll spend money you don't have to impress people you don't like. You'll compete with other men who aren't even paying attention to you. You'll chase women not because you want relationship, but because you need validation. And you'll live your life like a puppet, strings being pulled by everybody's opinions. But when you know who you are, you no longer need validation. You no longer need competition. You no longer need to prove yourself. You walk in rooms with peace. You stand in relationships with security. You make decisions with confidence. And that confidence commands respect. Every woman respects a man who knows who he is because such a man cannot be easily manipulated. A woman may test him, but she can't move him. Life may shake him, but it won't break him. And even when storms come, his identity becomes his anchor. Ladies, you know what I'm talking about? You respect the man who doesn't lose his cool when things go wrong. He doesn't crumble under pressure. He doesn't need you to tell him how to be a man. He already knows. And because he knows, you can relax in his presence. You can trust his leadership. You can feel safe in his vision. And here's the part brothers don't want to hear. When you don't know who you are, you make it hard for a woman to respect you. Not because she doesn't want to, but because there's nothing to respect. Respect is born out of clarity. Respect is born out of strength. Respect is born out of identity. And if you're shifting every week, if you're one man on Monday and another man on Friday, if you're righteous in the church but reckless in the streets, you're unstable. And nobody respects instability. So the call today is simple. Discover who you are, not who your friends think you are, not who social media says you should be, not who your ex called you, who you really are. You've got to go back to the manufacturer, the one who created you, and let him reveal your identity. Because until you know who you are in him, you'll never fully stand in who you are on earth. And once you know it, once you embrace it, once you live it, you will find that women, men, family, community, everyone around you can't help but respect you. Because people always respect authenticity. And the truth is, identity is not about perfection. It's about authenticity. You don't have to have everything figured out. You don't have to be flawless. You don't have to have all the money or all the success. But you do have to know who you are. Because when you know who you are, even in your struggle, you are respected. Even in your weakness, you are honored. Even in your journey, you are admired. Because the world is desperate for men who are authentic. So brothers, let me leave you with this. If you want the respect of a woman, real respect, not temporary admiration, not surface level attraction, learn who you are and stand in it. Don't apologize for it. Don't shrink for it. Don't compromise it. Because at the end of the day, the one type of man every woman respects is the man who knows his identity. Let me tell you something that every man has to understand. Integrity is not optional. Integrity is the foundation of respect. A man without integrity may get attention, he may get followers, he may even get temporary success, but he will never have lasting respect because integrity is what separates the counterfeit from the real. A woman does not truly respect a man because of his talk. She respects him because of his walk. And the tragedy today is that we have too many brothers talking big, talking strong, talking spiritual, talking committed. But when you look at their lives, the words don't line up. And whenever words in life don't match, trust dies. And wherever trust dies, respect cannot live. You see, integrity is when your private life looks like your public life. It's when you don't have to hide your phone. It's when your business deals are honest, even when nobody is checking the books. It's when you tell the truth, even when a lie would make you look better. Integrity is the courage to be consistent. And that's why women respect it, because integrity is rare. I always tell men, if you want a woman to trust you, don't buy her a bigger ring. Don't buy her a bigger car. Don't just promise her the world. Show her consistency. Show her truth. Show her that when you say you're going to do something, you actually do it. Because ladies, you know this. You've heard enough words. You've seen enough empty promises. You've watched enough smooth talkers. What you're looking for is evidence. Integrity is evidence. And brothers, let's be real. Every woman knows that no man is perfect. Perfection is not the expectation. But what a woman cannot live with is deception. She can deal with mistakes. She can deal with weaknesses. She can deal with struggles, but she cannot respect deception because deception is deliberate. Mistakes may happen, but deception is a choice. And when a man chooses deception, what he is saying is, I don't respect myself and I don't respect you enough to tell you the truth. That's why integrity matters so much. Now let me break this down further. Integrity is not just about telling the truth to others, it's about telling the truth to yourself. Some men live in denial. They lie to themselves every day. They lie about their addictions. They lie about their finances. They lie about their intentions. And a man who lies to himself will inevitably lie to everyone around him. But when you get honest with yourself, when you confront your own weakness, when you say, this is where I'm strong, this is where I'm struggling, this is what I need to fix, that's when you start walking in integrity. And here's the thing, when you live in truth, even your flaws can be respected. Ladies, respect a man who can say, baby, I was wrong, forgive me. They respect a man who doesn't try to cover his weakness with pride. They respect a man who can humble himself, repent, and do better, because humility is part of integrity. Integrity is not about never falling. It's about telling the truth when you do fall and having the character to get back up again. Think about Joseph in the Bible. Potiphar's wife tried to tempt him, tried to seduce him, but Joseph chose integrity. He walked away not because it was easy, but because it was right. And because of that decision, he went through false accusations. He went through prison. He went through betrayal. But eventually his integrity elevated him to the palace. Integrity may cost you in the short term, but it always pays in the long run. And women respect men who think long term. Now here's the problem. Too many brothers want the crown without the cross. They want the palace without the prison. They want respect without integrity. But let me tell you, respect is not bought, respect is not demanded, respect is not forced, it is earned. And brothers, let me give you a hard truth. Sometimes we think we can cover a lack of integrity with gifts, with trips, with apologies, with charm. But let me tell you, when a woman realizes she cannot trust your word, she cannot respect your character. You might keep her body, but you will lose her respect. And once a woman stops respecting you, the relationship is on life support. So here's the call. Be a man of your word. If you say you're going to do it, do it. If you can't do it, don't promise it. Don't set false expectations. Don't try to impress with lies. Live in truth. Because at the end of the day, truth is freedom. Truth is peace. Truth is strength. And when you walk in truth, you never have to look over your shoulder. You never have to hide your phone. You never have to create stories to cover lies. Truth makes you light. Lies make you heavy. I remember my father used to say, son, a man is only as good as his word. And I've never forgotten that. Your word is your credit score in relationships. If your word is good, she can trust you. She can lean on you. She can build with you. But if your word is bad, no matter how good you look, no matter how much money you have, she can't rely on you. And a man a woman cannot rely on is a man she cannot respect. And let me go a step further. Integrity is not just about how you treat her. It's about how you treat everyone. She's watching how you treat your ex. She's watching how you treat your children. She's watching how you do business. Because if you lie to them, eventually you'll lie to her. If you cheat them, eventually you'll cheat her. If you dishonor them, eventually you'll dishonor her. Women are watching, and integrity leaves footprints. So brothers, I challenge you, make integrity your brand. Make integrity your legacy. When people mention your name, let the first thing they think about be, that's a man you can trust. That's a man of his word. That's a man who lives the same in private as he does in public. That's the kind of man every woman respects. Because hear me, when the money runs low, when the looks fade, when the applause stops, the only thing that will remain is your character. And if your character is built on integrity, respect will never leave your house. One of the greatest needs in this world today is not just men who can talk, not just men who can provide, not just men who can charm. What this world is starving for are men with vision. Because let me tell you something, a man without vision is like a ship without a sail, like a house without a foundation, like a car without an engine. It may look good from the outside, but it's going nowhere. And brothers, let me be real with you. Every woman respects a man with vision, not just because vision is attractive, but because vision brings direction, and direction brings security. You see, women don't just want to know who you are today. They want to know where you're going tomorrow. Because when a woman connects her life to you, she is entrusting her future into your hands. And if you don't know where you're headed, how can she follow? A woman may entertain a man without vision for a moment, but she will never truly respect him. Respect is tied to leadership, and leadership is tied to vision. Now, vision is not about how much money you have. It's not about how big your dreams sound on paper. It's about the clarity of where you're going and the discipline to walk it out. Anybody can talk about a dream, but vision is when you can see it before it happens and then order your life in alignment with it. Vision is the difference between talking about being a king and actually living like one. And when a woman sees a man who has vision, she respects him because vision tells her, this man is not wandering. This man has direction. This man knows why he wakes up in the morning. Brothers, let me help you understand something. When you don't have vision, you default to imitation. You look at what other men are doing and you copy, you let social media define success for you. You let your boys dictate what manhood looks like. And so you spend your life chasing trends, chasing fads, chasing approval. But when you have vision, you don't chase trends, you set them. You don't follow the crowd. The crowd eventually follows you because vision makes you stand out. A woman respects a man who has vision because she knows she can build with him. You see, women are natural builders. A woman doesn't just want to exist. She wants to multiply, she wants to grow, she wants to expand, but she cannot multiply confusion. She cannot build on instability. She cannot respect a man who has no blueprint for his own life. If you don't know your own vision, how can you ever invite her to partner with you in it? And let's be real, vision is not just about business or career. Vision is holistic. A man with vision has a plan for his family. He has a plan for his finances. He has a plan for his spiritual growth. He has a plan for his health. He doesn't just wake up and hope things get better. He structures his life to make things better. That's what makes a woman respect him, because she can see that he is not living by accident. He is living on purpose. Brothers, too many of us are reactive instead of proactive. We wait until life falls apart, then we want to fix it. We wait until the bills pile up, then we want to hustle. We wait until the relationship is broken, then we want to pray. But a man of vision doesn't wait for crisis. He sees ahead of time and prepares. And when a woman sees a man who can anticipate, who can prepare, who can strategize, she respects him deeply, because vision is a form of protection. Vision protects your future. Vision shields your family from unnecessary pain. Vision gives a woman the confidence to say, I can trust this man to lead me. Think about Abraham. God told Abraham, look up at the stars, as many as you can count. That's how many descendants you will have. That was vision. Abraham couldn't see it with his natural eyes, but he carried it in his spirit. And because he carried vision, generations came forth. You see, one man's vision is never just about him. It impacts everyone connected to him. And brothers, when you don't have vision, you are not just robbing yourself, you are robbing your children, your grandchildren, your community. But when you carry vision, you create legacy, and legacy demands respect. Let me tell you something. Women may be impressed with what you have today, but they respect where you're going tomorrow. That's why sometimes you'll see a woman stand beside a man who doesn't yet have the money, doesn't yet have the status, doesn't yet have the house, but she respects him deeply. Why? Because she can see his vision. She can see that even though he's in a small apartment today, he has a plan that will move them forward. Even though his bank account may be low today, he has a strategy to grow. Even though his job may not be glamorous, he has the discipline and determination to elevate. And because she sees vision, she invests her respect. On the flip side, you can have a man who looks successful on the outside but has no vision. He has money but no direction. He has influence but no purpose. He has a title but no future plan. And when the woman looks beyond the surface, she realizes there's nothing to build on. And when there's nothing to build on, respect dies, because respect is not tied to what you have, it's tied to who you're becoming. Brothers, hear me, your vision is your compass. Without it, you will waste your years wandering in circles. Without it, you will waste your potential chasing distractions. Without it, you will frustrate the women in your life because they will never feel safe following a man who doesn't know where he's going. But with vision, you become unstoppable. With vision, you become attractive in ways that looks and money can never achieve. With vision, you command respect. And sisters, let me talk to you for a moment. Don't confuse charm for vision. Don't confuse ambition for vision. A man can be ambitious but have no direction. He can be busy but going nowhere. You have to ask yourself, what is his vision? Where is he going? What does he see for his life? Does he even have a plan that includes me, or am I just a passenger on his roller coaster? Because the kind of man you can respect is the man who says, this is who I am, this is where I'm going, and this is how I'm getting there. And brothers, don't be intimidated if your vision is still developing. You don't have to have all the answers, but you do have to have a sense of direction. It's better to say, I don't have it all figured out, but I know I'm heading north, than to just sit still, because women respect motion. Women respect progress. Women respect men who are intentional about the future. So the call today is simple. Discover your vision. Write it down. Pray about it. Work toward it. Live by it. Because without vision, you are wandering, but with vision, you are leading. And when you lead with vision, you won't have to demand respect. It will follow you. Because at the end of the day, a man with vision is a man every woman respects. Let me tell you something, brothers. One of the greatest problems I see in men today is not a lack of opportunity, not a lack of talent, not even a lack of potential. The greatest problem is that too many men do not value themselves. They live beneath their worth. They tolerate nonsense. They settle for mediocrity, and they confuse humility with low self-esteem. But hear me clearly. If you don't value yourself, you cannot expect a woman to respect you, because respect always begins with how you see yourself. You teach people how to treat you by what you accept for yourself. If you see yourself as cheap, they'll treat you like you're cheap. If you see yourself as disposable, they'll use you and throw you away. If you see yourself as unworthy, they'll agree with you and treat you like you're unworthy. But when you know your value, when you carry yourself like a man who matters, when you walk in a room with quiet dignity, when you set standards for how you should be addressed and dealt with, people have no choice but to rise to that standard. And brothers, let me say this, too many men have allowed broken homes, failed relationships, or absent fathers to tell them they have no worth. Too many men walk around with hidden wounds, believing the lie that they're not good enough. So they try to cover it with bravado. They try to cover it with women. They try to cover it with cars, with money, with muscles, with flashy lifestyles. But at the core, they don't really value themselves. And you can't fake value, because eventually people can see through the mask. A woman respects a man who values himself. She respects a man who knows he is more than his paycheck, more than his body, more than his possessions. She respects a man who knows he has a purpose, who carries himself with self-respect, who refuses to compromise his dignity just to fit in or just to please. A man like that is attractive because he sets the tone. Brothers, hear me. When you don't value yourself, you will tolerate toxic relationships. You will let people use you. You will give yourself away too cheaply. And let me tell you, women can see it. They can see when a man has no self-respect. And if you don't respect yourself, how can you expect her to? Think about it. If you don't take care of your body, if you don't take care of your mind, if you don't invest in your growth, if you don't carry yourself with dignity, you're communicating to the world, I'm not worth the effort. But when you value yourself, you invest in yourself. You read, you grow, you exercise, you set boundaries, you protect your time, you choose your company wisely. And a woman looks at that and says, now that's a man I can respect. I remember my father used to say, son, never put yourself on clearance. And I didn't understand it when I was young, but I get it now. Too many men put themselves on clearance, giving themselves away for cheap attention, cheap thrills, cheap approval. But you are not clearance material. You are designer. You are crafted by God Himself. You are a king. And when you carry yourself like a king, you attract a queen. Now, brothers, valuing yourself doesn't mean arrogance. It doesn't mean looking down on others. It doesn't mean being untouchable. It means you walk with quiet confidence. Which means you can be humble and kind without being walked over. It means you can love others without losing yourself. It means you can serve without becoming a servant to people's manipulation. And ladies, you know this. You can tell when a man values himself. He doesn't let you talk to him any kind of way. He doesn't let you play games with him. He doesn't chase you when you're trying to disrespect him. He stands firm not because he doesn't care, but because he knows his worth. And that kind of man you respect, because deep down, every woman knows that if a man doesn't respect himself, he can't protect or lead her. The Bible says, love your neighbor as yourself. That means if you don't love yourself, you don't even have the capacity to properly love anyone else. And this is why so many relationships are broken. Men who don't value themselves are trying to love women, but they're giving from an empty place. They're trying to lead from a broken identity. But when you value yourself, you can give love from a full place. You can lead from confidence. You can cover her without losing yourself. And hear me, valuing yourself also means you don't sell out. Too many men are for sale. A little money, a little attention, a little approval, and they compromise everything. They sell their integrity, their dignity, their future. But a man who values himself cannot be bought. He understands his worth is not determined by what people offer him, but by what God has already declared over him. And that kind of man commands respect. Brothers, when you value yourself, you also value your name. Your name is your reputation. Your name is your credibility. Your name is your legacy. Protect it. Don't attach your name to foolishness. Don't drag your name through the mud for temporary pleasure, because at the end of the day, when people remember you, all you leave behind is your name. And when a woman sees a man who values his name, she respects him. Let me also say this, valuing yourself means you stop begging for validation. Some men are addicted to validation. They need everybody to like them. They need everybody to approve of them. They need women to constantly affirm them. But when you value yourself, you don't beg for likes. You don't beg for attention. You don't beg for love. You know who you are, and whether people clap or not, you keep walking. That's attractive. That's respectable. And brothers, when you truly value yourself, you also value your time. You don't waste years chasing people who don't want you. You don't waste hours scrolling through distractions. You don't waste energy proving yourself to people who don't matter. You know your time is precious, so you invest it wisely. And when a woman sees a man who values his time, who has boundaries, who has standards, she respects that. So the challenge today is this: start valuing yourself. Stop living like you're cheap. Stop settling for less. Stop shrinking to make people comfortable. Stand tall. Walk with dignity. Live like you know you're a king. Because when you value yourself, you automatically teach people how to treat you. And sisters, when you meet that kind of man, you can't help but respect him. Because a man who values himself is a man who will value you. At the end of the day, the man every woman respects is not the man who begs for her attention, not the man who lowers himself to keep her, but the man who values himself enough to walk in dignity, to live in confidence, and to never forget his worth. Let me tell you something, brothers. Every real woman is looking for a man who knows how to protect, not a man who destroys. You see, the nature of a woman is to give, to nurture, to multiply. And when she connects herself to a man, she's not just looking at his smile or his swagger. She's asking herself, am I safe here? Can I trust my heart here? Can I trust my future in this man's hands? Is this man going to cover me, or is this man going to crush me? Because every woman, whether she says it out loud or not, longs to be protected by the man she gives herself to. And let me tell you, when a woman sees a man who protects, her respect for him rises. Now, protection is not just about fighting with fists. It's not just about carrying a weapon or standing strong in the street. Protection is deeper than that. Protection is when a woman knows she can lay her head on your chest and not worry about betrayal. Protection is when she can tell you her secrets and not fear that you'll ever weaponize them against her. Protection is when she can cry in your presence and know you will cover her, not laugh at her. Protection is when she can trust that you will build her up, not tear her down. Brothers, protection is not just physical, it's emotional, it's spiritual, it's mental. Too many men have used their strength to destroy instead of protect. Too many men have used their influence to manipulate, their words to wound, their position to dominate. And you may be able to control a woman for a season with fear, but you will never have her respect. Respect comes when a woman looks at you and says, this man is safe. This man is strong enough to cover me, but gentle enough to never harm me. That's the balance. You see, protection is not weakness. Some brothers think being gentle makes them soft. No, no, no. Real strength is when you have the power to hurt, but the character to protect. Anybody can be aggressive. Anybody can intimidate. Anybody can dominate. But it takes a real man, a king, to say, I will use my strength not to destroy, but to shield. I will use my voice not to curse, but to affirm. I will use my influence not to take advantage, but to elevate. That's protection. A woman respects a man who covers her in prayer. She respects a man who stands between her and danger. She respects a man who doesn't let outsiders dishonor her. She respects a man who refuses to let his friends, his family, or society mistreat her. She respects a man who makes her feel secure even when life gets shaky, because protection is not just about what happens when everything is good. It's about who you are when the storm comes. The Bible says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. How did Christ love the church? He gave himself. He sacrificed. He covered. He washed. He built. He lifted. He never destroyed. And that's the model of real manhood. Protection means sacrifice. It means sometimes you take the hit so she doesn't have to. It means sometimes you carry the weight so she can rest. It means sometimes you endure the pressure so she doesn't feel crushed. That's protection. And hear me, women notice. They notice when you step up and cover them. They notice when you speak life instead of death. They notice when you stand up for them instead of against them. They notice when you guard their hearts instead of playing with them. And when a woman sees a man like that, her respect for him is not forced. It flows naturally. But brothers, let me also warn you, when you use your strength to destroy, when you use your words to belittle, when you use your position to manipulate, when you betray her trust and leave her exposed, you don't just lose her love, you lose her respect. And once respect is gone, the relationship is hanging by a thread. Because love without respect is fragile, but love with respect is unbreakable. A real man knows that protection is not just about her, it's also about himself, protecting his own purpose, protecting his own integrity, protecting his family name, protecting his children's future. A man of protection understands that everything connected to him should feel safer because of his presence. His woman should feel safe. His children should feel safe. His community should feel safe. His friends should feel safe. That's the aura of a man who protects. And sisters, you know this. When you see a man who truly protects, you respect him deeply. Because protection is tied to trust. And trust is tied to respect. You can love a man who doesn't protect you, but you will never respect him. Respect is birthed out of safety. And when a man becomes your safe place, he becomes your king. So brothers, hear me. Your strength is not for destruction, it's for covering. Your influence is not for manipulation, it's for elevation. Your words are not for tearing down, they're for building up. Your leadership is not for domination, it's for guidance. And when you live like that, you won't have to beg for respect. You'll carry it everywhere you go. At the end of the day, the one type of man every woman respects is not the man who destroys her confidence, not the man who manipulates her emotions, not the man who breaks her down. It's the man who protects her, the man who shields her, the man who covers her heart, her body, and her future with strength, wisdom, and love. That man will always be respected. One of the most powerful qualities of a man that commands respect is discipline. You see, discipline is proof of maturity. Discipline is proof of strength. Discipline is proof that you are a man who is not ruled by impulses, but by principles. And let me tell you, brothers, every woman respects a man who walks in discipline. Because a man without discipline is unpredictable, unstable, and unsafe. But a man with discipline, now that's a man she can trust, follow, and admire. Let's be honest. Too many brothers confuse freedom with recklessness. They think being a man means doing whatever you feel like doing whenever you feel like doing it. But that's not freedom, that's bondage. When your appetite controls you, you're not free. You're a slave. When your anger controls you, you're not free. You're a prisoner. When your habits, your addictions, your desires run your life, you're not living like a king, you're living like a captive. A man of discipline, however, is a man who rules himself. And a man who rules himself is fit to lead others. A woman respects a man who has discipline over his words. He doesn't just say anything. He knows how to hold his tongue. He knows when to speak and when to be silent. His words are not reckless, they're intentional. And because of that, when he speaks, she listens. Because she knows he's not just talking out of emotion, he's speaking out of wisdom. A woman respects a man who has discipline over his body. He takes care of his health. He doesn't abuse himself with reckless living. He doesn't let lust dictate his choices. He doesn't treat his body like it's disposable. He understands that his body is the temple of God, and he disciplines it accordingly. That kind of man doesn't have to chase respect. He commands it. A woman respects a man who has discipline over his time. He doesn't waste his days chasing distractions. He doesn't lose years running in circles. He invests his time wisely. He knows how to prioritize. He knows how to work when it's time to work and rest when it's time to rest. She respects that because it shows her he values his future, and a man who values his future can be trusted with hers. And let me tell you, discipline is not about perfection. No man gets it right all the time. Discipline is about consistency. It's about deciding, even when I fall, I'm going to get back up and realign with my standards. Discipline is about creating boundaries and honoring them. Discipline is about saying no to what feels good in the moment because you're protecting what will be good in the long run. Brothers, when you lack discipline, you make it hard for a woman to trust you. If you can't discipline your eyes, how can she trust your faithfulness? If you can't discipline your money, how can she trust your provision? If you can't discipline your anger, how can she trust her safety? If you can't discipline your habits, how can she trust your leadership? You see, respect is tied to predictability, and discipline makes you predictable in a good way. The Bible says, "He that hath no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down and without walls." That means when a man lacks discipline, he has no defense. Anything can get to him. Any temptation, any distraction, any enemy can destroy him. But when a man walks in discipline, he builds walls around his life that protect his destiny. And women respect a man who can protect his destiny. Think about it. Discipline is what separates the great from the average. Talent without discipline is wasted. Potential without discipline is useless. Vision without discipline is just a fantasy. A man can talk big dreams all day, but if he doesn't have the discipline to wake up early, to grind, to save, to invest, to stay focused, nothing will ever manifest. And women know this. That's why they don't just listen to what you say, they watch how you live. Because discipline is not in the talk, it's in the habits. Let me be real, brothers. But a lot of men lose respect, not because they're bad people, but because they lack discipline. They let their emotions run wild. They let their appetites run wild. They let their words run wild. And little by little, they lose the trust of the woman who once admired them. Because respect cannot survive in the absence of discipline. But when a man lives disciplined, even if he doesn't have all the money, even if he doesn't have all the connections, even if he doesn't have the spotlight, he will have respect. Because respect flows toward order. A man who disciplines his spirit, his habits, his money, his words, his emotions, that man is a fortress. And every woman respects a fortress. And sisters, you know this. You may love a man who has no discipline, but you won't respect him because his instability makes you anxious. You may be physically attracted to him, but deep down you know you can't trust him. You can't relax in his presence because you don't know which version of him is going to show up But when you're with a disciplined man, you breathe easier. You can rest because you know his habits, his character, his boundaries will hold. That's the kind of man who wins respect. Brothers, hear me. Discipline is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. It starts with small decisions. Wake up when you said you would. Keep the promises you made to yourself. Control your temper when you feel like exploding. Walk away from what doesn't serve your future. Pray when you don't feel like praying. Read when you'd rather scroll. Work when you'd rather sleep. Those small acts of discipline build into a lifestyle, and a disciplined lifestyle commands respect. And let me tell you, discipline will save your life. It will save your marriage. It will save your money. It will save your purpose, because temptation will always come. Opportunities to lose focus will always come. But a disciplined man knows how to say no, and every woman respects a man who knows how to say no. At the end of the day, discipline is not about impressing people. It's about protecting destiny. It's about aligning with purpose. It's about being the kind of man who can be trusted with responsibility. And when a woman sees that kind of man, she doesn't just admire him, she respects him. So brothers, make up your mind today. Live disciplined, rule yourself, guard your spirit, control your words, master your habits. Because a man who walks in discipline doesn't have to demand respect, he carries it wherever he goes. And sisters, when you encounter that man, you can relax, you can trust, you can honor, because a man of discipline is a man every woman respects. When we talk about the kind of man every woman respects, we cannot leave out this one right here, the man who honors women. Now listen carefully, because I didn't just say a man who loves women or a man who likes women or even a man who pursues women. I said a man who honors women. That's a different level, because love can be selfish, liking can be shallow, pursuit can be temporary, but honor is eternal. When a man walks in honor, he treats women as sacred, valuable, worthy of dignity, worthy of respect. And brothers, let me tell you, there is nothing that draws the respect of a woman more than a man who has the ability and the humility to honor her. Now, honor starts in the mind. If you see women as objects, you will treat them like objects. If you see women as tools, you will use them like tools. If you see women as entertainment, you will discard them when the thrill is over. But if you see women as divine creations of God, as carriers of life, as vessels of wisdom, as queens in their own right, then your actions, your words, your attitude toward them will reflect that vision. You cannot give honor where you do not see value. So the first step is to change the lens through which you view women. A woman respects a man who honors her with his actions. He shows up, he keeps his word, he pays attention. He doesn't make her feel like she's just another option. He makes her feel like she's valued. And brothers, it's not just about the big gestures, it's in the little things. Opening a door, listening when she speaks, protecting her reputation when she's not around, covering her flaws instead of exposing them. Honor is in the consistency of small actions that communicate, you matter, you are valuable, you are worthy of my respect. But here's the part a lot of men miss. Honor is not just how you treat the woman you want, it's how you treat every woman. See, some brothers will treat the woman they're attracted to with respect, but then dishonor other women, family, friends, co-workers, strangers, because they don't think those women have anything to offer them. But hear me clearly, A man who only honors the woman he wants to impress is not truly honorable. Real honor is consistent. Real honor is not selective. Real honor shows up whether you're dealing with your mother, your daughter, your wife, your sister, or even a stranger on the street. And let me tell you, women notice. They notice how you treat the waitress. They notice how you treat your mother. They notice how you treat women you don't need anything from. And those observations shape the respect they have for you. Now let me dig deeper, because a lot of men don't understand this honor is tied to how you handle her weaknesses. When you honor a woman, you don't expose her flaws, you cover them. You don't weaponize her vulnerabilities, you protect them. You don't laugh at her tears, you wipe them. A man of honor knows that her weakness is not an opportunity for him to dominate, it's a chance for him to serve. And that, brothers, is what wins respect. Honor also means recognizing her individuality. Too many men try to mold women into what they want instead of honoring them for who they are. But a man of honor celebrates her uniqueness. He listens to her perspective. He acknowledges her gifts. He affirms her calling. He doesn't diminish her because he's insecure. He elevates her because he's secure. And when a woman experiences that kind of honor, her respect for that man runs deep. Let me put it like this. Dishonor will always destroy what honor would have built. Some men lose the respect of their women, not because they cheated, not because they abandoned, not even because they failed financially, but because they consistently dishonored her with their words, their attitude, their neglect. And when dishonor sets in, respect drains out. But on the other hand, when a man walks in honor, even when he makes mistakes, even when he falls short, the woman can still respect him because she knows his heart carries honor. And let me say this to the brothers, honoring women does not make you weak. It makes you strong. In fact, the weakest men are the ones who dishonor women. It doesn't take strength to degrade. It takes strength to elevate. It doesn't take strength to insult. It takes strength to affirm. It doesn't take strength to dominate. It takes strength to empower. Honor is the language of kings. And when you honor women, you prove to the world that you are a man of character, a man of discipline, a man who understands the weight of responsibility. The real man honors women privately and publicly. He doesn't honor her in front of people and dishonor her behind closed doors. He doesn't post sweet words online but curse her in the kitchen. He doesn't buy gifts as a cover-up but still treat her like she's less than in private. No, real honor is consistent. It shows up in the silence. It shows up in the shadows. It shows up when no one else is watching. And let me tell you, when a woman feels honored like that, she doesn't just respect you, she reverences you. And sisters, you know this. You know the difference between a man who flatters you and a man who honors you. Flattery feels good in the moment, but it's shallow. Honor runs deep. Flattery dies when attraction fades. But honor remains even when beauty shifts, when life gets hard, when circumstances change. That's why you can love a flattering man but only respect an honorable man, because respect flows to consistency and honor is consistency. So brothers, hear me. The kind of man every woman respects is not the man who looks good, not the man who makes the most money, not the man who knows all the smooth words. It's the man who honors her, the man who treats her like she's sacred, the man who elevates her dignity, the man who covers her weaknesses, the man who celebrates her uniqueness, the man who respects women not because of what they can give him, but because of who they are in God's design. And when you walk in honor, you don't just win a woman's respect, you win her heart, her loyalty, her trust, her admiration. Honor is the foundation of every strong relationship. Without it, everything else crumbles. With it, everything else thrives. See, leadership is not about dominating a woman. Leadership is not about barking orders or demanding submission. Leadership is about responsibility. It's about a man being able to stand and say, I know who I am, I know where I'm going, and I have the discipline and integrity to take us there. That's leadership. It's not about control, it's about guidance. It's not about manipulation, it's about inspiration. A woman will never respect a man who leads her into confusion, but she will deeply respect the man who leads her into clarity. Brothers, women are not looking for perfect men, but they are looking for men with purpose. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to be a millionaire. You don't have to have all the answers, but you do have to have a direction. You have to have a vision. You have to be able to say, this is where I believe God is calling me. This is the path I'm walking. This is the standard I live by. This is the type of future I'm building. That's what gives a woman confidence to walk with you. That's what earns her respect. Now, let me tell you something. Direction without discipline is still chaos. Some men talk about vision but never execute. Some men have ideas but no consistency. And when a woman sees a man who speaks big but lives small, she loses respect. But when she sees a man who not only talks about vision but walks it out, sacrifices for it, disciplines himself for it, works tirelessly for it, her respect for him deepens because she knows she's walking with a man who is not just dreaming but building. A woman respects a man who provides leadership not just in finances, but in values. Leadership is not just about how much money you can make. It's about the principles you stand on. What do you believe in? What's your standard? Do you lead her into integrity or into foolishness? Do you lead her closer to God or further into darkness? Do you lead her into peace or do you lead her into chaos? Because a real man doesn't just lead with his wallet, he leads with his wisdom, his faith, his example. See, brothers, you can't expect a woman to respect your leadership if your life is unstable. You can't expect her to follow you when you don't even know where you're going. You can't expect her to trust your vision when you keep changing your direction every week. A real man of leadership has a steady hand. He's not tossed back and forth by every trend, every opinion, every emotion. He's anchored in purpose, and that's what makes a woman say, I can trust this man's leadership. I can respect this man's direction. But let me also make it plain. Leadership is not dictatorship. Leadership is not about silencing her voice. Leadership is not about ignoring her input. A real leader values collaboration. A real leader knows how to listen. A real leader makes space for her wisdom. In fact, one of the greatest signs of strength in leadership is humility. The ability to admit you don't have all the answers and to respect the insight God placed in the woman beside you. Leadership that demands silence is not leadership, it's insecurity. But leadership that welcomes her voice is leadership that earns her respect. Now, women notice everything. A woman knows the difference between a man who pretends to have direction and a man who truly has it. She knows when you're faking leadership. She knows when you're using manipulation instead of vision. She knows when you're pretending to be in control, but inside you're drifting. And once she sees that, her respect for you begins to die. But when she sees the opposite, when she sees that you're steady, when she sees that you're disciplined, when she sees that you're trustworthy in your decisions, when she sees that you can take responsibility without blaming everyone else, her respect for you multiplies. Leadership is about accountability. A man who refuses to take responsibility for his own life cannot lead a woman's life. If every time you fail, you point the finger, if every time you stumble, you blame somebody else, if every time things go wrong, you deflect instead of reflect, you cannot earn the respect of a woman. But when you stand as a man and say, the responsibility is mine, I will learn, I will grow, I will make it right. That's leadership, and that's what a woman respects. A woman respects a man who can lead her emotionally. What do I mean by that? I mean a man who doesn't let his emotions drive him off a cliff. A man who doesn't lose control every time something goes wrong. A man who doesn't lash out in anger, doesn't shut down in silence, doesn't collapse under pressure. Leadership in emotions means you are the anchor in the storm. She can look to you when the waves are high and still feel safe because your spirit is steady. That kind of emotional leadership is rare, and it is deeply respected. A woman respects a man who leads spiritually. She respects a man who can pray over her. She respects a man who can speak God's word into her life. She respects a man who can guide the family in faith, who can discern the right path, who can stand firm in the face of temptation. You don't have to be a preacher. You don't have to know the entire Bible. But when a woman sees that you are connected to God, she respects you as a leader because she knows a man who follows God will never lead her astray. At the end of the day, brothers, the respect of a woman is not automatic. It is earned. And one of the greatest ways you earn it is by being a man of direction and leadership. A man who knows who he is. A man who knows where he is going. A man who takes responsibility. A man who listens, but still leads. A man who is anchored in vision, discipline, and faith. That's the kind of man who never has to beg for respect. He embodies it. So brothers, hear me. If you want the respect of a woman, get direction, get vision, get clarity, get accountability, become a leader worth following. And when you do, you won't have to demand respect. You won't have to argue for it. You won't have to manipulate for it. She will give it to you freely because every woman respects a man who provides direction and leadership. A woman can deal with many things, but one thing she will always respect is a man who is real, a man who is consistent, a man who is authentic, a man who lives with integrity. Brothers, let me make it plain. No woman can truly respect a man who wears a mask. No woman can truly respect a man who lives one way in public and another way in private. No woman can respect a man who pretends to be strong, but is really weak, who pretends to be holy, but is really playing games, who pretends to be honest, but is really manipulative. At the core of every woman's respect is this question: is this man real? Is this man who he says he is? Can I trust the character of this man when nobody's watching? Integrity is not about perfection. Integrity is about consistency. Integrity is about being the same man in the dark that you are in the light. Integrity is about keeping your word even when it's inconvenient. Integrity is about walking away from temptation because your principles mean more to you than your pleasures. Integrity is about saying, I am who I say I am, and I will not sell my soul for applause, approval, or attention. And when a woman sees that kind of man, Her respect for him rises because she knows she's not dealing with an actor, she's dealing with a king. Women are wired to discern. A woman can look into your life and see what you tried to hide. She may not always call it out immediately, but she knows when you're being fake. She knows when you're exaggerating. She knows when your words don't line up with your actions. And once she sees that pattern, she can no longer respect your leadership. Respect is rooted in trust, and trust is rooted in integrity. If you break integrity, you break trust. If you break trust, you lose respect. A man of integrity does not have to manipulate. A man of integrity does not have to lie to get his way. A man of integrity does not have to hide. He can stand boldly and say, "This is who I am. This is what I believe. This is how I live." And even if a woman doesn't agree with everything you say, she will still respect you because she knows you are authentic. A man who is unapologetically real is more respected than a man who is pretending to be something he is not. Now let me go deeper. Integrity is not just about being honest with her, it's about being honest with yourself. Too many men are out here living lies not because they want to deceive others, but because they won't face themselves. They won't face their weaknesses, their struggles, their flaws. But a real man has the courage to be authentic with himself. He doesn't hide from his issues. He confronts them. He doesn't deny his struggles. He seeks help. He doesn't pretend to be flawless. He admits where he needs growth. And when a woman sees that kind of honesty in a man, her respect deepens. Because she knows she's not dealing with a boy in denial. She's dealing with a man who has the courage to be real. Authenticity also means you don't live to please the crowd. A man of integrity does not shift who he is based on who's in the room. He doesn't change his standards because of pressure. He doesn't compromise his values just to fit in. He stands firm. And a woman respects that because she knows a man who will stand for himself will also stand for her. A man who will not compromise his principles for popularity will not compromise her dignity for convenience. Let me say this plainly, women are tired of actors. They're tired of men who look one way on Instagram but live another way in reality. They're tired of men who speak about love but live in lust. They're tired of men who present themselves as leaders but live as hypocrites. They're tired of the mask. What they respect is authenticity. A man who is not perfect but he is honest. A man who doesn't pretend to be more than he is but lives true to his convictions. And brothers, integrity is not optional if you want to be respected. Because without integrity, nothing else matters. You can provide money, but if you lack integrity, she cannot respect you. You can have charisma, but if you lack integrity, she cannot respect you. You can lead with confidence, but if you lack integrity, she cannot respect you. Because everything collapses without trust. And trust is born out of integrity. I'll tell you this, when a woman sees a man with integrity, her heart relaxes because she knows she doesn't have to second guess him. She doesn't have to wonder what's true and what's false. She doesn't have to live in suspicion. She doesn't have to play detective. She can rest because she knows this man is authentic. What he says is what he lives. Who he presents himself to be is who he truly is. That's respect. And let me make this clear. Authenticity is not about sharing all your business with everybody. Authenticity is about alignment. alignment between your words and your actions, alignment between your public life and your private life, alignment between what you say you believe and how you live it. When your life is aligned, you are authentic, and that's what a woman respects. Brothers, don't ever trade your integrity for temporary pleasure. Don't ever compromise your authenticity for short-term gain, because the moment you lose integrity, you lose trust. And when you lose trust, you lose respect. You may still have her love. You may still have her attachment. You may still have her presence. But without respect, the relationship is hollow. A man of integrity is rare. A man of authenticity is precious. A man who lives real, who lives consistent, who lives true, that man will always be respected, because respect is not built on how much money you make, how popular you are, or how powerful you seem. Respect is built on the foundation of trust, and trust is built on the foundation of integrity. So brothers, hear me. If you want to be the one type of man every woman respects, be real, be authentic, live with integrity. Don't hide, don't pretend, don't wear a mask. Be who God created you to be, flaws and all, and live consistent with your convictions. Because a man who lives with integrity may not be the loudest man in the room, but he will always be the most respected. So my brothers, let's rise up and be those men. Men of authenticity, men of integrity, men who live in alignment with their words, their actions, and their purpose, because at the end of the day, respect is not given to the fake, it is reserved for the real.